Welcome to Make America Healthy, where our goal is to empower you, educate you, and inspire you to take control of your own physical and mental health because you are your own best health advocate. Oftentimes, you'll be your own doctor, and we're going to give you the tools to help you. So, my name is Beth Shaw. I'm the founder and CEO of Yoga Fit Training Systems. I've written 4 books on health and wellness, and I am the host of this podcast, Make America Healthy. I'd like to mention that the views expressed by this show are different than my work at Yoga Fit. So you will enjoy being educated today. And today's topic is natural mental health healing hacks. So it's all about your mental health today. And we are joined by 2 amazing guests. We have Marnie Task, who has 25 years as a yoga instructor, bringing mindfulness, breathing techniques into corporate settings, into the police system in Cleveland, into prisons. And Marnie uses a lot of yoga technique and ancient tradition to help people heal mentally as well as physically. We're also joined by Clark, who is the owner and CEO of Activation Products. It's a supplement company based upon natural healing. And at 46, Ian had a significant health crisis and started to seek more natural ways to take care of himself. Welcome, both of you, to Make America Healthy.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Happy to be here.
Ian, I'm going to start with you. What are you seeing out there in the field? Because most people we speak to, they have a health issue. They go to the doctor, they get some pill, and then they need another pill to handle the side effects of the other pill. And it becomes a very vicious cycle that one can't get out of so easily. In fact, a friend of mine's mother was diagnosed recently with high blood pressure, and now she's taking some high blood pressure pills and she's having all kinds of complications. This is not a unique story. Can you let us know the average number of pills that most Americans are on these days and just a little bit about what's going on out there in the field?
I would say about 98% of the population tends to lend themselves and give the responsibility to others to take care of their health problems.
And that's like a systemic issue.
Yes.
That I believe we are conditioned as Americans to take the power away from ourselves, put it in the hands of someone who may or may not know what they're doing. That's, I think, very dangerous. How do we even start to address that mindset that someone else is going to know better than you about your health?
The entire sick care industry is dealing with symptoms that arise, and you could have thousands of different symptoms or disease names if you don't know how to remove the problem itself. Now, a lot of people talk about going to root cause, which is a good thing to say, but can they actually get to the root cause? Because if you were to remove all of the problems out of your body that was causing all these various different symptoms based on your genetic weaknesses or strengths, then you don't have anything to remediate anymore. So I found out that you can actually remove the problem, but you have to know what the problem is.
And we've had Dr. Edward Group from Global Healing on to talk about doing deep cleanses as a way to remove the toxins from the body, to let the body start to heal naturally. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we're in a country where our water is extremely polluted. There's a lot of environmental toxins. Our food is laced with glyphosate. Everything has glyphosate. Even beer has glyphosate in it. I was shocked to find that out. Chemicals abound and are slowly killing us. I know it's much worse in America than it is in most other countries because we have very lax standards. It takes a lot to keep oneself healthy in our culture, in our society, in the US.
Yeah, I think it's an international problem. So I looked at all cleaning up the diet. That's very important. Exercise, mindfulness, meditation, all very important. Now, I noticed that the people along the route, and over the last 20 years of doing the research, I had access to $40 million of actual money that I could put into research. And that allowed me to then really find out what the number one problems are. So you and I today are going to breathe 11,000 liters of air. And tomorrow we're going to do the same. That means that every year you're going to breathe 4 million liters of air. And if you stop breathing, you die. So you're not, and you have no power right now to clean the air up. The air is full of nanoparticles.
And would you talk a little bit about chemtrails? Because that is something that has not really been addressed on Make America Healthy. I know they exist perhaps in some states more than others, or maybe that's not true. Maybe they exist everywhere. Why are they spraying the air with all this stuff?
They're called particulate trails. People like to call them chemtrails, but it's really particulate matter. So the reason they give excuse for doing this, and they spray mostly at nighttime, so you don't see a lot of it, they say for communication towers, like aluminum or whatever. They have all these excuses, and it's just excuses. Now, people can talk about conspiracies and they say they're doing it on purpose to make us sick. Whatever they're doing, that's just one thing. But the biggest problem we have are things like tire dust. There's 10 billion pounds of tire dust that is nanoparticulate that goes 1.5 miles above every highway in the nation, plus brake dust. You don't see any rubber on the road. There's enough tires sold for 10 billion pounds of tire dust every year. And the brakes wear out in vehicles. And now they go to battery powered cars that burn tires faster. And it's a accumulating thing. That's bad news. What's the good news is that you can actually deal with it. And the way you deal with it is through your blood system. You pump 5 liters of blood, which is what your body has, 7,600 liters a day. So every 60 seconds, you pump all the blood through your entire system. And why do you do that? Because the oxygen you breathe has to go to the brain immediately. If your heart stops right now, your brain passes out and you're unconscious in 8 seconds. You can hold your breath for up to 8 minutes if you're really skilled, but that means your heart is still beating. So what's happening is you're getting contaminated by breathing, and all that stuff goes into your blood system and accumulates. So to give you an example that you can get your head around immediately, you take a 20-year-old and a 60-year-old. A 20-year-old has 100% kidney function normally. A 60-year-old is down to 35% efficiency because they breathe 160 million liters of air in 40 years. And they accumulated so much that their filter gets plugged up and it can't clean itself.
Much like most people are operating with 15% liver function, right?
Yes, that's right. And that's because that's another filter for the blood. And it also gets filled with fat because your body needs fat, but it needs just a tiny amount. We have been misinformed that you need a whole bunch of fat and that the brain is mostly fat. That is not true. The brain is mostly glucose. And the more fat you have, the more your lipid membranes fill up, and the insulin can't deliver the glucose, which you need to power yourself. And so then you end up with free sugar and free insulin, which wreaks havoc on brain health, and it causes fatigue. So it's just a matter of fixing that. You yourself are the only one who can fix this. You get down to the minimal amount of fat possible. If you've had a lot of fat in your diet, you've plugged up your system with it. If you didn't know that your body needs to produce much more blood than it is right now, because your body is producing blood. You produce blood with your bone marrow.
And some of us have less blood than others.
That's right.
Just genetically.
Yes, that's right. But you are responsible to produce way more volume of blood, because if you produce more volumes of clean blood, then your body can clean itself out with the clean blood rather than waiting for your filters to try to catch up and they fall behind. Hence 35% at 60, right? In the kidneys. And the kidneys are super powerful because that's where your life energy is. So what I found out is that when you take unrefined sea salt and melt it into water, and you do 5 grams per liter and drink 1 liter per 50 pounds of body weight up to a maximum of 3 liters a day, that gives your body the raw material it needs to produce amazing amounts of clean blood, regardless of your genetic history. And you produce it with your bone marrow.
So we're seeing a lot of products come on the market now that are, and I'm taking some of them, that are electrolytes, salts. Are these beneficial for people to take, or should they just take some Himalayan salt and put it in water and call it a day?
The Himalayan salt is substandard compared to unrefined sea salt. So what we have sourced is hand harvested, solar dehydrated, certified pure, full spectrum sea salt.
And do you sell this product?
Yes, we do.
I'm definitely going to get some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ship you some, and I'll get both of you on this stuff right away. All I need is your address, and you'll see immediately an uptick. I have gone through a complete body renovation by doing 5 grams 3 times a day, but it has to be melted in water because 80% of your body is not water. It is electrolytic fluid. You are a fluid being. If you try a tear, it tastes like ocean water, right? So you're a walking ocean. So you have to supply your production facility needs the raw material to produce the right amount of blood, and it will completely change your life. It also feeds your gut with the hydrochloric acid is made from chloride minerals, which is what sea salt is. And so you get perfect gut health because now you're giving it the raw material to produce good quality hydrochloric acid, which now digests the food. You get all the nutrients that you're missing because your hydrochloric acid goes down, and people get gut health problems as they get older.
Yes.
Well, they should never have gut health problems. Age has nothing to do with it.
Okay, that's good news that age has nothing to do with gut health problems. I guess bad news is that our processed food system probably has a lot to do with the fact that everyone's microbiome is a mess.
Yes.
So this sounds like a pretty simple way to start not only dealing with your physical health, but also your mental health, because if your digestion is off, if you're dehydrated, chances are you're not going to have the best mental health outcome.
Yes. And your brain is not being fed properly. If it doesn't have the electrolytes and the glucose that it needs to function and have high energy, then the mental energy gets weaker instead of stronger. And that causes all kinds of mental health issues, from the brain up in your head to the brain in your heart to the brain in your gut, because they're all directly connected and they're all neurological pathways. And the master mineral is literally the unrefined sea salt that connects you electrically. And then the glucose is the fuel that gives you the power. That's what your body has to have glucose.
So what I'm hearing is that we're going to start with something pretty basic, and that's 5 grams 3 times a day of this unrefined sea salt in water.
Yes.
Before we might want to start on a liver cleanse or a gut cleanse or anything else. Like it's a foundational play, right?
100%.
Okay.
And when you get the raw materials up, you get the super powerful gut health and the super powerful brain health. Then all these other things just melt away.
And how long does it take to see some results with this process?
You're going to see results immediately. And the older you are, the more results you're going to see. And the younger you are when you start, the better off you are. Because it took me 1 year. When I turned 64 years old, I learned what the truth was about this, immediately employed it. And it took me 1 year to clean all of the garbage I had breathed in, which had accumulated in my system. I now have 100% kidney function. My liver is totally back online at 100% because the clean blood went in and washed it all out. I had liquid bowel movements for the first 3 months, not diarrhea, just liquid bowel movements of my dirty blood being allowed to leave my body finally, because you have to have 5 liters of blood working with it. If you're producing way more clean blood, now your body can intelligently dump the dirty blood, and that then continuously cleans out the filter. My filter was plugged up just like anybody else.
I watch a lot of stuff on the blue zones.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that the people who live in these blue zones are not as affected by tire dust and brake pad dust, and they're probably not being medicated to death. For people who live next to the freeway, who have succumbed to the medical system, being given 9 different pills to take, is their cleansing process going to be any different?
Yes, yeah, because they're going to be more accumulated stuff. So they're going to have a little bit more of a roller coaster ride. Hypertension is something that is caused from what you're breathing, not only just what you're eating. What you're eating will cause it also if you're into the processed foods, but by far you consume more air than anything else, which is where the real contamination comes from. So yeah, if you could start at 20 years old, you maintain healthy red bone marrow. Most people, by the time they're 30, they've lost 40% of their red bone marrow converted to yellow, which does not produce good blood and also does not produce really strong stem cells. That's why professional athletes recover quickly in their 20s, but they don't recover nearly as fast in their 30s and usually are retired at 40. And that's not age related. That is the problem. They didn't know that they needed these raw materials every single day to maintain that 20-year-old health ongoing.
So when
But
you're talking about stem cells, are you talking about people's own stem cells being reclaimed and then put back in them? Or are you
yeah,
talking about going to one of these clinics in Panama where they put stem cells from the American blood, like from
yeah, neither of the,
placentas in your body?
neither of the above.
Okay.
Once you get your body back to producing your own stem cells day in and day out, 24 hours a day, by continuously feeding it the raw material to make good bone marrow, to make good blood, you don't need any of those things at all. But if you don't know that, yes, you have to go and get injections. Yes, you have to have your blood taken out and amped up and put back in. That is, you don't want to have to do that. If you
And
have
are there tests that one can do to see like how dirty their blood is?
yes.
And is there a way for one to cost effectively monitor this process while the cleanse is happening to see their own improvement other than self-reporting, which is valuable, but some of us like test results?
Oh, yeah. Now, there are multiple tests you can do: telomere length, cleanliness of the blood, what your electrolyte levels are, how hydrated you are. But it all at the end of the day relates to you feeling better and healthier every single day. That means that you're getting more flexible, more mobile, more agile, stronger, with more power, better gut health, better brain power, better endocrine system, better respiratory, better circulation. Those are the things that you can physically witness, because you are going to get brighter and shinier and more powerful every single day going into the future on a measurable basis. So that's the only key performance indicator I'm interested in, because we can have all the clinical studies and all these different tests and all these things, but at the end of the day, where are you at? And if you're getting healthier every day in every single system, you're actually extending your life with health. Now, people talk about blue zones, and I appreciate that. I looked at the average lifespan of a North American is 75 to 79 years old. A health conscious North American is averaging 80 or 75 to 85. The blue zones are 83 without really doing a whole lot, just being in a blue zone. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about maintaining around a 25-year-old biological and structural health into the future indefinitely. And a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So making sure that every link is completely strengthened, because you could be really healthy in these areas, but one area over here could literally take you out. And that's why you're seeing the average age not much more than 85, even with health conscious. So we're not interested in that anymore. You are interested in personally, you yourself, maintaining around a 25-year-old, which is now doable with the knowledge. So people perish from a lack of knowledge. Once you have that, it's like getting keys. Like, I give you the keys. You don't follow me. I simply have the keys. I give them to you. And then you follow yourself. Like you said earlier, you become your own doctor. I want you to do what you want to do, not what I want you to do. So
It's all about just ingesting this unrefined sea salt.
The unrefined sea salt, bringing the fat intake very low. You need to have healthy fats, but a woman needs a little bit more fat than a man. But as soon as you go above that amount of fat, now you're plugging up your lipid membranes, which resists the glucose and the insulin going into the cell, which is called insulin resistance. And they blame the sugar, but it's actually the fat and the lack of electrolytes. It's the total opposite of what we've been told.
Interesting. And you said you had access to $40 million worth of funding for research. How did you come upon that?
I generated it. So we generated around $100 million of revenue. And that came from people who were investing in themselves and providing money to us. And we gave them a product for that money. But I didn't look at it as my money or the company's money. I looked at it as your money. And I thought, hold it, what are we going to do with the profit margins in the company? We are going to reinvest that back in for you to
Mm.
be able to find out the actual truth. And it became extremely simple, very affordable, and doable for anyone who got the keys. And they just go, oh, you mean it's that simple? Because I knew that you have the God-given right to be healthy, period. And you can call God whoever you want, like the creation of this place we live in, which is super designed, and your body is a phenomenal, intelligent being, right? It knows how to get healthy, but it needs to be supported. So if we're eating glyphosates and garbage food and we're breathing all this air and we didn't know we needed the unrefined sea salt and the
And if we're
fructose,
not filtering our water,
right. Yeah, you got to start with clean water. I just start
yeah.
with, I don't worry about the super waters anymore. The more you drink a super pure water, the more you dehydrate yourself because it demands your body to donate its precious minerals to the water that you urinate out.
Mm.
So when you convert the water into electrolytic fluid, which is your responsibility to do that, because the food
Yeah,
does
but you're
not,
not going to take tap water and
no.
put your sea salts in it, right?
Definitely not. But it's simple. You can get a reverse osmosis. You would never drink reverse osmosis water on its own because that would damage you. But you start out with reverse osmosis or distilled, you add the unrefined sea salt to it, it instantaneously structures that water, makes it silky smooth. You drink it, and then your body's going to go through its little roller coaster ride for a moment until you balance out and everything smooths out. So what you're talking to now is a person who is 15, almost 16 months into this, having actually done it. And now I'm showing up. I turned 66 in June. And I feel better than I did when I was 21.
Oh, you look great.
Yeah, feeling good.
Yeah.
And
Great. Thank you.
can I ask a quick question to you
Yes.
regarding these toxins and drinking the salt water? Is does it also detoxify the heavy metals out of your systems? So it's that same, yes.
Yes. So it does, it automatically detoxes because your dirty blood is now able to dump because you have so much excess production. And then we have this little thing called Solaris. This is remarkable in that you put it in your body. It's clove, rosemary, and thyme. And
Mm-hmm.
it goes in and it actually dissolves the harmful matters like heavy metals into inert matter. It goes after fungus. Fungus shows up because you've got too much contamination and your immune system is down. People say your immune system is in your gut. No, it's not. That would be ridiculous. Does your gut affect your immune system? Yes. But your immune system is in your blood because your blood goes to every cell in your body every 60 seconds. And it goes and identifies, hey, there's all this garbage. There's microbial stuff in your body. There's heavy metals. There's fungus. These things cannot be in the body. And your
And
body,
most people have mold in their system. They have candida. If they're on pharmaceutical pills, I would imagine that also creates dirty blood.
yes. Oh man, the pharmaceuticals are just wrecking havoc because they're trying to deal with the symptom. But you mentioned earlier, multiple side effects. You should never require any medicine ever.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear you say this. I've been on and off of antidepressant medication since my late 20s.
Mhm.
And in 2023, in preparation for an ayahuasca journey, I stopped taking Wellbutrin. And every now and then I'll think about going back on it. And then I read something about how pharmaceutical pills wreck the microbiome.
Yeah.
And so it requires a little bit more work, especially with those of us who have mental health challenges to deal with our mental health without pills. But ultimately, it's so worth it. And from what I'm hearing from you, once we clean our bodies up and drink this unrefined sea salt, we're probably just clearer in our mental health perspective as well.
Right. Yeah, well, we have a product called Ease, and it's in this bottle here. You spray it on your skin, it goes immediately wherever you spray it geographically into your body. I have seen people, and I can't make a medical claim, but I have watched people who are on antidepressant and anti-anxiety drugs wean themselves off it just with this alone within 30 days because the depression and anxiety is irrational because you're missing the magnesium. And women burn way more magnesium than men
Yeah.
because you use your brains way deeper than a male, number one, because you've got so many touch points in your life. Plus, you're going through your hormonal change every day. And so when you top up your system daily with this, it immediately makes you feel better. Like you literally in 90 seconds feel like, oh, okay, good. And it allows your autonomic nervous system to go into parasympathetic instead of being stuck in sympathetic. Because if you're stressed out, you just get more stressed out.
Yeah.
This
It's
one thing
definitely a
allows you.
vicious cycle.
Yeah. And so this breaks the cycle, just that alone. And in the sea salt is also, this comes from the ocean. This is a magnesium chloride hexahydrate extract.
So you're saying that comes from the ocean, but I know that a lot of our ocean water is extremely polluted now too.
That's right.
So how do you deal with that?
You have to go to pure places, which we have found. This is USP grade. This means that the extract is removing everything except for magnesium chloride hexahydrate. And that way the purity is off the charts. Perfect. And our unrefined sea salt has to go to the lab for every single batch to be checked for microplastics and heavy metals. Those are the two big problems in the ocean. And vast parts of the ocean is polluted, but vast parts are not. Because the ocean is 71% of the water in our earth is ocean. It goes down to 50,000 feet deep. There's so much access to good stuff. All we have to do is make sure we double check that we're getting the right thing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Marnie, let's hear a little from you. You probably have a different take on mental health, more from the yogic and breathing meditation perspective, but it sounds like it would fit right in with what Ian is doing.
It's all connected, right? I love what you have to say, Ian. I've been exploring all sorts of things for many years, so I'm so happy to learn more about these salts. But yeah, even us talking about gut health and the parasympathetic nervous system response and how yoga practice and breathing practice can help you turn on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest response. Because when we breathe deeply, we literally affect our gut health, and then things like indigestion and constipation, all of that starts to go away the more that we do these practices.
And you're doing a lot of work with the police departments and with people who are incarcerated. Can you tell us a little bit about that and some of the positive results that you have seen?
Yeah, so similar to you guys, maybe you got into what you got into because you look out at the world and you see a need for it. And I was somebody watching the news and so upset to see officers grabbing their gun instead of their taser. And what can I do to make a difference instead of watching it happen? So that if I wanted to go and help the police, and all I could think of was I've got to teach them how to turn off their autonomic nervous system, their flight and fight response, through the practices of yoga and breathing and all these different practices that Beth, you and I know very well. And Ian, I'm assuming you probably, you seem like a pretty yoga kind of guy.
Very familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely been a wonderful experience, but that which is the police department is just like every other place. They've got hard jobs. They've got like a hierarchy. And then everybody's super busy. They're overworked. So it's a matter of really getting them into the classroom and practicing. But when they do, they learn these practices that they can take with them anywhere and everywhere. So one of the wonderful things that I had heard with one of the people who's in charge of the employee assistance unit. So it's a guy named Chris Gibbons, and people come to Chris when maybe there was like a terrible shooting and these officers had to go and handle it, or there was a chase, or they killed somebody or something like that. And one of the things that we talk about in terms of using mindfulness and breathing is that you get yourself into a calm state before you even enter the room. If you walk into the room in a fight or flight response, you're walking in and you're pouring gasoline on that already existing fire, that domestic violence situation, that you fill in the blank. Just teaching people these incredible practices and helping them learn that they have this skill set in their back pocket to downgrade their nervous system by literally doing something that you and I call ujjayi breathing or balanced breathing or box breathing is what a lot of Americans call it. Breathing into a number 4, 5, 6, depending on your breath capacity, maybe holding that, which is a little more advanced, to the same number, exhaling the same number, and then holding it out. Or maybe holding your breath is too advanced, so you just breathe in and out, balanced breathing. And if you can learn how to balance your breath, you can balance your heart rate, you can balance your brain, and then you walk perhaps into a situation that is out of balance, and just your vibe and then your intelligence, because you're able to literally act from your prefrontal cortex and make a choice, a conscious choice, versus out of your amygdala and that unconscious reptilian brain that just is going to be in survival mode.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we're talking about the physical body, and I'm hearing a lot about awareness, and that is one, knowing that you have the power to make the changes, and that maybe it's something as simple as drinking this unrefined sea salt 3 times a day, and then being mindful of the state not only of your body but your mind simultaneously, so that you can start to make more informed choices from a more aware place. And that's where I think the practice of meditation also really comes in, where we can learn that witness consciousness, or as I wrote in my book, yoga, lean consciousness. So we become the observer to the body and the mind. And then we become much more aware of the nuances. And then we engage in a yoga practice, and we become even more aware with body sensitivity, more body awareness, knowing what foods are going to upset your body and which foods are not. And just making more informed, educated choices starts with awareness. And then also, after that, you have to take action. Don't put your health outcome in somebody else's hands just because they have a degree or they call themselves a doctor. Because let's remember that it's called medical practice. It's not medical perfection. I think the third largest cause of death in the country is accidental medical issues in the hospital that they don't really talk about. But this practice is certainly not perfect, not in a society where it's turn and burn, and doctors need to see as many patients, clients as possible to get the insurance money, and they're not trained in nutrition or any of the softer sciences like yoga, meditation. So it's a flawed model that is creating more flaws.
Here's what's so interesting, and I think everything that you're sharing and taking back your own power. I think I'm just so happy to meet you today, Ian, because now you're like, this is the next interesting thing, I think. And it sounds like Beth wasn't taking any sea salt in the water yet.
I'm taking a product that is salts. Actually, I've been taking them now for about 3 weeks. And it's a commercial product. Some of my fellow podcasters, this product advertises on their show.
Right.
And so I do notice a positive difference, but I'd like to go as natural as possible. So if Ian has unrefined sea salts available, I'm going to try those as opposed to something that comes in a package with a flavor in it. I was doing Himalayan sea salt and water with lemon, but now I found out that Himalayan sea salt, thank you, Ian, is not as clean as perhaps looks healthy to me. It's pink.
So I guess
it's a rock.
What I'd love to take it back to is that I think of my own health journey. I've been practicing yoga now for 30 years or something like that. And I started out as this just graduating from college student, binging on Ben and Jerry's, having gut health issues. Now I know that they were gut health issues. And then doing the practice and watching that, to your point, Beth, taking my own life in my own hands. Now, with that being said, doing all these yoga practices created way better health out of me using my own psychopharmaceutical laboratory by twisting and turning and bending forward and doing inversions and doing practices, namely meditation, like you suggested, right? Asana practice, doing all the poses that literally rinse out your body, strengthen your body, soften your body, doing pranayama, doing breathing exercises that literally can amplify you and make you feel more awake. If you need a cup of coffee, forget the coffee, just do breath of fire, Bastrika. Or if you need to calm your nervous system because you're like totally anxious or you're waking up in the middle of the night, you slow your breathing down, doing that balanced box breathing, Ujjayi Samavriti. And at the same time, I'm just like you, Ian, that I noticed I had issues. I had eczema most of my life. I had whatever I had and still struggle with, just like similar to you, Beth, struggle with depression, anxiety, all those things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold on to my practice, but there's got to be something else. And so it's so helpful to work symbiotically, if you will, with people like yourself, Ian, or I love Dr. Zach Bush, who if you have not had Zach on your show, Beth, you totally should. He's amazing. That there are external sources that we can work with also as human beings, yogis, that when you're doing your practice, this is a vehicle, this is our car. And sometimes it needs an oil change. And it sounds like maybe the dissolved sea salt in the water might be that daily oil change that we might need. Or for years, I did that Ayurvedic thing. I drink lemon water all the time. My
Yeah.
husband's always making fun of me, right? Like I go to a restaurant and they're like, can I get you a drink? And I'm like, can I get a cup of hot water and lemon, please?
There's so many yoga practices we can pull into our daily life. I use a lot of Ayurveda too. I do the hot water and lemon in the morning,
Yeah.
the foot oiling to calm vata and
Yeah, the
relieve anxiety. Yeah. So they're the tongue scraping. They're little Ayurvedic hacks. We've got several Ayurvedic trainings at Yoga Fit, and these things could be pulled into your daily life along with a headstand every day to make yourself better and clearer. And it doesn't take long periods of time. We're not suggesting, okay, do 90 minutes of yoga a day.
Something I want to bring in, if it's okay, you brought up your spray that I'm so interested by,
Yeah,
that
I'm
magnesium
interested in
spray.
that spray too.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Beth, but I'm somebody who takes magnesium on at
I do. I
every
take it every night. Yeah.
because maybe you're like me, you're not eliminating. And
Yeah.
some people would say, for many years, I went to some functional medicine doctors. They're like, your problem is that you're not a methylator, and this is so you're not pooping regularly. But of course, we know life is poop, and the yogis want you to poop every day. It's so good for you to eliminate those toxins. And if you don't have enough, what we yogis would call apana, down removing energy, because you're clogged up, because either we've all been talking about glyphosate, which I'm breathing in right now. It's in the air because it's a water soluble product. And, or if you're somebody like me, that you've got like this methylating factor issue. And so your systems block up.
And they say that 40% of the population has methylating issues.
Yeah.
40%.
It's great.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, we're taking too many pharmaceuticals or whatever.
And the pharmaceuticals are in the water supply now too.
Yeah.
I think they did some study up in Seattle and they found like the water was laced with Prozac. The salmon had cocaine in them. I don't know what's going on in Seattle.
God.
There's a lot of stuff in everything. There's birth control chemicals in the water. So men are having testosterone issues much earlier. So this show, not just for ladies, but men, you may not be dealing with PMS, but you may be dealing with a whole host of other issues thanks to contaminated water system.
One of the things that I'm working on with the police and with many people, given the state of affairs in our world, but is I teach a workshop called Overcoming Anxiety, Depression, and Insomnia. And if your energy is too high, you can't settle.
Sure. And if you're going to Starbucks every day and drinking a lot of coffee and stimulants, which a lot of us do, you're going to be really jacked up at night. It's going to be hard to sleep, and you're going to need a Xanax or a sleeping pill or a whole handful of other natural things that you can take, like 5-HTP, tryptophan, CBD, THC.
Yeah. Or it sounds like, Ian, you've got the magic elixir. It sounds like if we were to take cell salts, our microbiome and our gut health might heal and maybe take care of some of that. But this particular workshop is the yogic prescription for it. And I'm guessing, Beth, you probably have a similar one, and you're in the yoga fit methodology.
We have a yoga for sleep program that we just launched. It's doing really well.
That's awesome.
Great. This has been a very informative show. I'd like to thank you both so much for tapping into the body, the mind, the spirit, and how everything works together. If you're listening to this show, please remember your health is your most valuable asset always, and your health is in your own hands. And that's the hands that it should be in. Don't just hand your health off to someone else. Educate yourself. Listen to Make America Healthy. Go on YouTube University. You can research pretty much anything these days and get information. The information is out there. That's good news. Ian, tell us where we can find you.
The main place is on our website, activationproducts.com. And then also on TikTok, I have Ian Activated. On Instagram, Ian Clark Activated is the handle, where I just simply give 1 to 1.5 minute videos on snippets of sound bites that are very informative for self-care.
Wonderful. Marnie, where can we find you?
You can find me at marnietask.com, which is my website, or on Facebook, Marnie Task Yoga, or on Instagram, marnie.task. And then also you can find me with my aromatherapy product, which I think you just shared with all of your amazing participants at your last
Thank you for that at our
conference.
Mind Body Fitness conference. They loved it. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
you're so welcome. And that is actually something that was like a happy accident, me creating this aromatherapy product that happened to really help people relax, be able to downgrade their mind so they could sleep at night, and has all these amazing essential oils in it. And over the years have received crazy testimonials. So you could find that at indulotion.com.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both so much. We'd like to thank the sponsors of this show who make this show possible. So please check them out. Our sponsor, Life Boost Coffee, has the cleanest, most organic, non-chemical, mold-free coffee that you can find. They have over 50 different flavors, including a new mindfulness blend that I created for them that is half calf. So if you don't want to get as jacked up, if you want to drink clean coffee, it makes a difference. Check out Life Boost Coffee, and you can use the code YogaFit to save 15% at checkout. Again, Life Boost Coffee, check out the mindfulness blend. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Blush Love, making all sorts of accessories and adult toys for your maximum physical pleasure. Their products are inclusive. They have yoga products too, like Kegel balls and things to help with your pelvic floor. So check out blushlove.com. You can save 15% at checkout by using the code YogaFit, and BPA free, non toxic products. Check out Blush Love. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, Erconia Lasers. Whether you're a healthcare practitioner, a vet, or a vet tech, I'm using this laser on my dog to help him heal from his health issues. And the lasers are great for cats, dogs, horses, and people. And it's a high-level red light therapy. YogaFit offers corporate wellness, ongoing trainings, yoga for PTSD, depression, anxiety. You can check out yogafit.com. And also you can find me on social media at Beth Shaw Health. You can visit my website, bethshaw.com. You can visit the Make America Healthy new website at makeamericahealthy.com. And you can also find my books on Amazon. So until next time, please share this show with anyone who you think would benefit from it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our sponsors, and have a beautiful day. Remember, your health is your most valuable asset always. So take control, take care, and namaste, everyone. Thank you so much.